The objective for this lesson is that students will be able to convert the units of rates. So I gave these notes in class on March 14th. This is from chapter 9.1, part E. The topic is converting rates. Here's some examples of rates. And if you'll remember when we talked about rates before, the definition of a rate is it's a ratio where the two numbers have different units. So a ratio is basically a fraction, and you've got different units. So these are examples: feet per second, meters per minute, miles per hour, anything where you've got a ratio with different units. So you could have gallons per minute, liters per second. There's lots of different rates. Almost all the rates we're going to talk about are going to have time on the bottom. All right, so let's look at our first example. 60 miles per hour equals how many feet per hour? So one thing that's helpful is to look at the units. 60 miles per hour. Miles per hour, that's miles over hours. Feet per hour, that's feet over hours. And you can see we're going from miles to feet and hours to hours. So we don't need a conversion factor for the bottom one because we're not changing the time. We're keeping the hours. But we do need a conversion from miles to feet. So just like we've been doing, the first thing we're going to do is write down our conversion factors. So we only need one on this problem. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. So that's our conversion factor that we're going to use. Just like what we've been doing, the first thing we're going to do is write down what we were given. We were given 60 miles per hour. So I'm going to write that down, 60 miles per hour. And I'm just going to put a 1 in here like we've been doing. 60 is the same as 60 over 1 because I want to deal with fractions. I'm going to put a line. And now we're going to plug in our conversion factor. So here's our conversion factor. 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. I want to plug that in here. So I have a decision to make. Do I put the 1 mile on top and the 5,280 feet on the bottom, or do I put the 5,280 feet on top and the 1 mile on the bottom? So look at the units I have. I have miles. The units are always going to go opposite of each other. So the 1 mile needs to go on the bottom, and the 5,280 feet goes on top. If you haven't been doing it so far, I want you to start canceling out units. Miles over miles, those cancel each other out. And if you look, we're left with hours on the bottom and feet on top. And that's what we wanted, feet over hours. So we have the units we want. Now we're just going to multiply straight across to get our answer. So 60 times 5,280. Punch that in my calculator. I get 316,800 over 1, which is just 316,800. My units are feet per hour. And that's my answer. All right, let's look at example number 2. So example number 2, I have 60 miles per hour again, so we're starting with the same thing. So again, it might be helpful for you to look at the units, miles per hour, and what I'm going to is miles per minute. Miles per minute. So I'm going miles to miles, so I don't need a conversion for that, but I do need one for hours to minutes. So the first thing we're going to do is write down our conversion factor from hours to minutes. That conversion factor is 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Now I'm going to write down what I was given, 60 miles per hour, same as before, so 60 miles over 1 hour. Draw my line, and now I'm going to plug in my conversion factor. So I have hours equals minutes, If you look here, here's my hours that I'm trying to get rid of. So again, just like we did miles, to cancel those out, one on top, one on the bottom, I have an hour on the bottom. So I need to put my hours on top this time to cancel that out. So I'm putting my 1 hour on top, my 60 minutes on the bottom. So now hours over hours canceled out. And you'll see what I'm left with is miles on top, minutes on the bottom. That's what I wanted. So I have my units. Now I can just multiply straight across. 60 times 1 is 60. 1 times 60 is 60. 60 over 60 is just 1 mile per minute. All right. So both of these problems just required one conversion. Now I'm going to show you two examples where we're going to have two conversions in the same problem. So let's look at those. So the first one, I'm starting with 30 kilometers per hour. Again, it might be helpful to write that down, kilometers per hour. And what I'm going to is meters per minute. Meters per minute. So I need to go kilometers to meters, and I need to go hours to minutes. So for this one, I'm going to need two conversion factors. So kilometers to meters, the conversion factor is 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters. And then for hours to minutes, the conversion factor is 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So two conversions this time. The thought process is still going to be the same. The steps are still going to be very similar. First thing we're going to do is write down what we were given. 30 kilometers per hour, and I'm going to write the 30 as 30 over 1. Now, I can do the kilometers to meters first, or I can do the hours to minutes first. It doesn't matter what order I do the conversions. I usually like to start with the one that's on top, the kilometers. So we need to plug in 1 kilometer equals 1,000 meters in here. Same thought process as before. Here's my kilometers that I need to get rid of. So I need to put this kilometers on the bottom to cancel that out. So the 1 kilometer is going to go on the bottom, the 1,000 meters on top. So 1 kilometer on the bottom, 1,000 meters on top. That cancels out my kilometers. Now if you look for the units, I have meters on top now. That's good. I want meters on top. Now I got to take care of these hours and change those to minutes. So I'm going to take my next conversion factor, 1 hour equals 60 minutes, and plug it in. Same thought process before. Here's my hours that I need to get rid of. To get rid of hours on the bottom, I need to put in hours on the top. So I'm going to put the 1 hour on top and the 60 minutes on the bottom. So now I have hours over hours that cancels out. If I check my units, I now have meters on top, minutes on the bottom. That's what I want. And so now I can just multiply straight across. 30 times 1,000 times 1 gives me 30,000. On the bottom, I have 1 times 1 times 60, which is just 60. 30,000 divided by 60 is 500 meters per minute. And that's my answer. So 30 kilometers per hour is the same as 500 meters per minute. All right, let's look at the next one. I'm starting with 7 miles per hour, and I'm going to feet per minute. So again, I'm just going to write it out here so you can see it. Miles per hour. I'm going to feet per minute. So you can see I need to convert the miles to feet and the hours to minutes. Started off the same way. Write down what you were given. Actually, step back. I forgot we got to write our conversion factors. So we need miles to feet. So 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Hours to minutes, 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Now I can write down what I started with. 7 miles per hour. Let's start with the miles and convert it to feet. So I need to plug this conversion factor in here. I got miles on top. I need miles on the bottom to cancel that out. So now I have miles over miles. Those canceled out and left me with feet. So I got my feet part done. Now I need to take care of the hours to minutes. So I need to plug this conversion factor in. 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Here's my hours on the bottom. So I need my 1 hour on top to cancel that out. The 60 minutes on the bottom. Hours over hours cancels out. Leaves me with minutes. So now you can see I have feet over minutes. So I have the units I want. So now I can just multiply straight across. 7 times 5,280 equals 36,960 over 1 times 1 times 60. So now I divide those, and I get 616 feet per minute. And that's my answer. Okay? So if you didn't follow it, just back it up. Take it step by step, see what I do. It's just the same process over and over. Now I'm going to give you 2 practice problems to do. So if you want, just pause the video here. Try to do these on your own. Then you can hit play and check to see if you got the solutions correct. All right, so let's check these. I'm going meters per hour to feet per minute. So I'm starting with meters per hour. I want to go to feet per minute. So I need 2 conversions again. Meters to feet, hours to minutes. So my conversion between meters and feet is 1 foot equals 0.305 meters. There's actually another conversion on your conversion sheet that says 1 meter is 3.28 feet. You can use either conversion. Either one will give you the right answer. My hours to minutes. So again, 1 hour equals 60 minutes. So now I'm ready to start. Write down what I was given, 10 meters per hour. Plug in my first conversion factor. Meters on top. I need meters on the bottom. Plug in my next conversion factor. I have hours on the bottom. I need hours on the top to cancel that out. So you can see the meters canceled out, the hours canceled out, left me with feet over minutes, which is what I want. So now I can just multiply straight across. I get 10 over 60 times 0.305 equals 18.3. So take 10 divided by 18.3. You get 0.55 feet per minute. All right, let's look at the next one, 35 miles per hour. I'm converting that to feet per minute. So miles per hour going to feet per minute. Again, I'm going to need two conversions, one from miles to feet, one from hours to minutes. So miles to feet, I have 1 mile equals 5,280 feet. Hours to minutes, I have 1 hour equals 60 minutes. Write down what I was given, 35 miles per hour. Take my first conversion factor, 1 mile equals 5,280 feet, and plug it in. I have miles here, so I need miles on the bottom to cancel that out. The 5,280 feet on top. Take my next conversion factor, hours on the bottom, so I need hours on top. So again, canceling out my units, miles over miles, hours over hours. I'm left with feet over minutes, which is what I want. So now I can multiply straight across. 35 times 5,280 gives me 184,800 over 60. So divide that by 60, you get 3,080 feet per minute. And that's all there is for this lesson. Again, if you need to back it up and watch me do a problem slowly at your pace, then do that. It's just the same process over and over again. So once you understand the process, you can do this no matter how many steps there are. So this is Mr. Bywater out.